Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So nice to see so many of you here. Waiting anxiously for Wayne Steiger and I to show up. This is our not your normal Sunday morning program. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower, and I'm joined by R. Wayne Steiger out in Denver, Colorado.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Hello, Jeff.
Good to see you, my brother, and good to see everyone else that's here today. And we've got a lot of people in the chat room already, and we're looking forward to a great show. And I've been like a little kid, and not I guess before Christmas, but I've been making some other stuff. Making these intention candles where you put your intention on the candle and you burn it.
Hey,
And
that's cool.
Been figuring out how to make those.
That is cool.
I just finished making my first NCK original pendulum.
And what is the end of it?
It's the end of it is one of those things.
Oh.
Kind of like a faux crystal.
Yeah.
So is this going to be a great show today?
I think it's going to be a
that's a big yes right there from the pendulum.
I love it. That's very groovy.
And I just made those, so it's very interesting to make them and very interesting to see how they come along and get going. So I was a little bit excited. And Wayne, we scheduled December 10th for the What to Do When You're Dead event here in Clearwater, Florida.
Cool.
And we already have about 15 people RSVP'd. We're going to have to cap it at 100. So it looks like Heidi Vandenberg's going to come down. So it's like we'll have a great time.
That is going to be as we used to say, far out.
Far out. And when we have to decide when to do one in Denver.
Hey, listen, I think we should. I already know that I've had about 3 or 4 in the area, and so it's just word of mouth. I believe particularly maybe after our show today, people will want to look into this a little bit more.
Wasn't there a movie or something about what to do in Denver when you're dead?
I don't know, but I
think there was.
Title. That is a good title.
Let's talk. Let's see what we got here going on. Ready. I know I'm ready for Wayne. I told them you had a bombshell, so they're waiting. They're ready for Wayne's bombshell. We've got Osaka, Japan.
Oh, good.
We got people from all over the place. Binge watched the 2nd season of Stranger Things. I haven't watched that one.
I haven't watched.
Wayne, I bet your wife is a good woman.
Well, I'll tell you what, she's got the patience of, we used to say the patience of Job. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She is just, you find out in life, sometimes later in life, what the value of relationships are. You see that, folks? That's cool. There we go.
Jesus slaves. I'm the only one that would wear one of these, actually, but I think they're cool anyway.
I think it's.
But Wayne, I just was thinking, we did the Benny Hinn thing today. Everybody fall back.
Yeah, we did. I woke up at 4:30.
So have we not gone into the past? Is this not time traveling?
We do it all the time. It's true. And then you've got some states, I think it's like Arizona and Indiana, that don't change at all. So Either they're catching up with us or we're running behind them.
Right.
I don't know which.
Now, do you think if you went to Arizona, you'd be going into a different time loop, or do you think it doesn't really matter what we're thinking?
I think what reality is what we think. I love the movie Paul.
That's exactly right.
Reality
is what we think.
Yeah. And so in the movie Paul, when they're getting to, I think it's Mountain Time Zone and West Time Zone, and the alien Paul says, they're right there on the timeline border, and he says, this is a form of time travel. I'm ahead, and then I'm behind.
But is it not really a form of time travel? I mean, in actuality?
It gets into the whole question of what time is. I like what Dr. Lanza said in his book, Biocentrism. Time is just merely an observable event. And without the observer, the event isn't relevant.
And it makes you wonder, how relevant is time, really?
It really does. I believe that in this plane, that time is like a magic potion. If time is based upon relativity, and if you go with that gravity is the supreme power in the universe, we know that gravity, like light, can be bent. Well, that would mean that time can be bent, right?
Right. Let's listen to this real quickly. This will probably get me in trouble with the YouTube people, but this is kind of something I think is very interesting, right on this subject.
Yes. That's it. Number one. Thank you. You're gonna miss this ship. She went before time. Someone once told me that time was a predator that stalked us all our lives. I rather believe that time is a companion who goes with us on the journey, reminds us to cherish every moment, because they'll never come again.
There you go. Is time a predator, or is time a companion that goes on the journey to remind us to cherish every moment because they won't come again?
It's the complete dichotomy and the oxymoron of perception. You know, if you're a nocturnal animal, the sunshine is hell. But if you're a daylight animal and you're into the night, it's hell.
That's true.
I mean, it's a matter as to how you see it.
And a billionaire once told me, Wayne, when I was working for Marriott, he told me a couple things. One, I can't repeat, but he said one of the other things he learned is that time is your greatest asset, because time once spent can never be redeemed again. You can earn more money, you can buy more real estate, but once you spend your time, it's gone.
It is.
So we should really learn to guard our time and to regard our time as precious and make the most of it, each and every second of it, because again, like Jean-Luc Picard says, it won't come again.
True. Now, I always think above, if time is just merely a thread. You know, I have it up here and it says on my whiteboard, time is a concept looking for a function.
Right.
Now, that gets really deep because you can really get in then what's a function. And it's come down from my personal point, how I'm developing is that this is about mind, not about spirit, not about soul, because you can have, we have both of those. I think we are a spirit and we possess a soul. But I believe it's that third part of that triad, which is mind. Because without mind, there is no expression of the spirit or the soul.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And I mean, time, you can't do anything about the past.
You can't.
You can't do anything about the future, but you can live in this moment and maximize each and every moment.
You see, that's why I contend that we live an unlimited lifetimes. In this lifetime alone, I've lived, and it depends on how you want to take this. I can say that I've lived 62 versions of myself, and that's taken it by years. If I wanted to take it by days, you know, I've lived about 25,000 of those days, right? I mean, and those are all former versions of me. I am not what I was when I was 20 years old. I'm not.
Our history does not determine our future.
No, I had no way of conceiving, at least because my mind, my knowledge was so limited, of a future Wayne that would be 42 years into the future.
Maggie Wickham makes an interesting statement. I don't wear a watch. My time is my time. Maggie, I don't wear a watch either.
I quit wearing one as well.
Isn't that a great place to be, Wayne and Maggie, when you're at the place where you can not wear a watch? And you can see I got this gold paint all over me from doing those candles, but I don't wear a watch. My time is my time, and it gives you a different perspective on the world, doesn't it, Wayne?
It does, because I don't know about you, Jeff. I have come to this place as well. When someone tells me that's impossible, and when I hear myself saying that, I have to come back because, when you point a finger at someone, you've got three others pointing back at you.
Right.
So I have to hear what I'm saying to myself is this. If you say something is impossible, then what you are saying is that man has reached his limit of all knowledge and all wisdom. Case closed. We might as well go blow our brains out because there isn't any need to go forward. No.
And wasn't it in the 1800s sometime where the U.S. Patent Office was seriously considering closing down because everything that had been invented had already been invented?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's literally true. Thank you, D. Gunyon. I appreciate that very much.
I'm reading now where Einstein, we glamorize this man. He is the man who, set into motion the standard model. And from that, we get our modern day mathematics, our modern day reality, etc. Because all of our science is predicated around this. Well, there are those who have been on the outside from the very beginning where Einstein was concerned and have questioned, number one, his ethics. Most important, his ethics. He apparently was a plagiarizer of many other former theories of physicists. And the way that you look at his model of relativity that we base everything on, apparently it within itself, and Einstein, smart man, because he knew that this was probably going to come up. In fact, I got it on my whiteboard over here, and it says it's that random factor. Now they approached him on spirituality, and he said that goes into the random factor. Well, that means every theory you have to put the random factor is. That means it's unlimited. You can't say that there is a constant or a definite. True.
Now, some people have made a couple of statements here, and someone made an interesting statement about dogs seem to live in the moment. They don't understand time like we do. That's why you walk out of a room, you come back in, you go away for 3 weeks, you come back in, same response from the dog. That's my observation. I'm not a dog person, but cats have a very good understanding of time. They're like, yeah, whatever. If you get a move of an ear from a cat, it's different, but a dog is like he hasn't seen you in 3 years when you go away for 3 minutes. But we have a couple of statements here about November 4th, and we've managed to live through yet another horrible cataclysm. If it's not Marzulli, Clark, and the eschatological idiot setting times, it's somebody else in the truth media saying how bad something's going to happen. And I don't know about you, Wayne. I'm tired of the religious prognosticators telling us how bad it's going to be, and I'm tired of these truthers telling us about all the things that are bad they're going to happen.
Yeah, and I saw it building up last week again, and anytime someone brings a date up, I'm going, okay, can I take a counter wager on that?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that the problem is with dates is that there's always going to be a date. And getting back to what you were just saying a minute ago, the best definition I heard of God when I was a Christian, and I am not, is this: God lives in the now.
Well, I believe the truly divine are outside of time.
Well, and that's my point, is that if now is always now, then there is no past and there is no future.
Right.
It's a mind coitus, because it will tickle you in parts of your brain that you're going, but it's true, Jeff.
And that's why a lot of people say, well, why doesn't God do anything? Well, number one, God is waiting for us to do something, the true gods. But you got to realize that the gods set something in motion here. And to us, it's been 2,000 years. To them, it's been a couple days. No big deal.
Well, what if I told you, and ladies and gentlemen, we didn't talk before we came on.
Is this the bombshell?
Yeah. This
bombshell alert, ladies and gentlemen. Bombshell alert.
That's all I've got to say. For months now, I did a video on November 10th, and go to my channel, go to the YouTube channel, go in the archives and look for I Want My Reality Back. And I did a video, 30-minute video, and I told everyone something changed. we've shifted. There has been a shift. Now, I knew it. When it hit me, I actually told my wife, I said, Lynn, I was holding her hand. I said, did you feel there was a shift? I can't tell you that it was perceptible with vision, but it was felt with inside. It was amazing. So I have been doing a series called the Bloodline Invader series, wrapped it up, and I've told everyone, listen, what we have built here, the internet, is beyond the pale of imagination of man's construction. We take it so for granted, and that's the marvel of it, is that it has now so seamlessly integrated into our reality, and that's called the internet. I have been saying, and I actually did a video called The Light Door Opens, and what I was trying to tell everyone, listen,
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, that I forgot my train of thought there.
This is Wayne's site, Who Took My Reality? That's
Yeah.
the video he's referring to.
Back onto the internet. I have been contending that this, folks, is a huge amount of energy. It's 24/7, and it grows exponentially. Now, if you believe in God, gods, or the infinite being, that there's an infinite amount of gods, this depends on where you are in the evolution of your consciousness and your development, Jeff. The internet is a huge energy. I mean, think about it, it's pulsing constantly and growing. If you were a god, and let's say, due to the fact of something that changed, I don't know, let's say 3 millennia ago, and you've been waiting. In fact, probably a lot of them been waiting. And let's say you had a human who had all the legal right. When you're using the internet as a human being, it gives you legal authority. So it's a strange concept, I know, but follow me on this. So you've been waiting, and by accident, because you're into the ether, really the internet is an ether creation.
An Ethernet?
Exactly. That's where it started. Think about that.
That's what you connect to the, hardwired, your Ethernet connected.
Exactly. We're connecting into the ether, folks. Now, hear me on this. Let's say you accidentally, by using machine code. Now, machine code is artificial intelligence. You invoke a certain, accidentally, not even knowing, an incantation that resurrects an ancient deity. And what if I told you this deity was responsible for electing Donald Trump?
Run that by us one more time. Your short version of that premise.
What if I told you that there was an ancient deity of Egyptian origin that we know of that was absolutely responsible for the election of Donald Trump and the changing of our current reality? See, I told you it was going to blow your mind. Are you there, Jeff? Did we lose Jeff? Jeff, I can hear you, but we can't see you. Although we got a great looking picture here of you. Okay, I can hear Jeff in the background, but I can't see him. I know y'all can't either. So I'm going to go ahead and continue forward with this. So think about an individual who puts something out on the internet. Now, maybe some of you may be aware of this, maybe you're not. But Jeff, are you there?
I'm here. I just had to take care of something real quick.
Okay. So I put a PowerPoint presentation together, Jeff, to actually help you see what I'm talking about.
You have that right now?
Yes, sir, I do.
So you're going to tell us who this ancient deity is, and you're going to tell us why he or she wanted to have Donald Trump elected.
I'm going to tell you why Donald Trump has embraced it.
And from what I learned last night or real early this morning, because I woke up too, that Donald Trump is a reptilian. I got the silly videos showing him shapeshift and stuff. But anyway,
So do you
somebody
see
said
this?
Jeff was laughing so hard he had to mute himself. Well,
Do you see this?
it says meme magic.
Mimi magic.
Mimi, okay.
Yeah. I'm going to show you something that's probably going to take some, it will invoke cognitive dissonance at first, but when you see this, it's going to make sense. So, an ancient god of death and chaos has been summoned and is now made the transmutation. We talk about the transmutation on our side to the other side. We don't think about the door swinging both ways. The origin of this took place on November 27, 2014. An internet user by the name of 4chan submitted a post about an Egyptian deity to his board on 4chan, featuring a depiction of a god as a frog-headed man.
Wayne, can you tell us what 4chan is?
That's his username.
Oh, okay.
It's just his handle. On March 11, 2016, Redditor River of Karma submitted an image micro-associating Pepe the Frog, Donald Trump, and the mimetic magic with the ancient Egyptian deity Pepe the Frog.
So was there an ancient Egyptian deity that was a frog?
Yes. KEK is the deification of the primordial concept of darkness in ancient Egyptian religion. He embodies the time right before the dawn, making him the bringer of light. KEK is portrayed as a man with a frog head. In hieroglyphics, KEK is portrayed as a man seemingly sitting at a computer screen. Pairs and numbers are very important in the Ogdoad mythology. Repeating numbers were used to create the universe according to the Ogdoad. KEK is using 4chan as a vessel to spread his message and to usher in a new era of light. Now, folks, it's going to get weird following me on this. On June.
So this is a guy who's an internet user.
Yeah.
And he's saying that he's telling us about this new god.
Oh, no, you don't understand. He did it as a joke.
Okay.
He had no intention on this. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's interesting. Yeah. So he just did it as a joke.
Yeah. It's where the internet took over.
I got you.
Weird.
Okay.
Okay. On June 4th, a KEK worship general thread was created on the trash off-topic board on 4chan's channel. On June 25th, 2016, an anonymous 4chan user submitted a post to the Robot 9000 board asking if viewers had accepted Lord KEK, ancient Egyptian god of darkness, into their lives.
Now, there really is a KEK.
There really is.
But this guy's just making this up as a lark. He made it up as a lark.
He did it as a joke.
Okay. Kind of like Slender Man got started as a fake story.
Yeah, but this one's different. I'm trying to say the internet took over.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. So in KEK's mythos, post ending in sevens hold more weight than others, as 7 is considered a lucky and or holy number in many cultures, which increases the value for dubs and trips. Similarly, 3 6s, 666, the number of the beast, are considered to represent Satan and evilness. This received one of the highest points on June 19, 2016, when a post reading, "Trump will win," managed to get, are you ready for this, ladies and gentlemen? 7777777 get.
What's the significance of that, Wayne?
It's incalculable. It's one of those things that could never happen. Now, what's more interesting, all right, I'll continue. There was the original post. This is what happened when the computer took over.
Oh, wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff, Hillary Clinton declared in August at the Democratic Convention, as she took the main stage, she said she was at war with the frog. Go back, look it up, folks.
Those words actually came out of her mouth, huh?
It's exactly her words.
Wow.
Now, if you look in August 15th, Hillary Clinton was leading. It was a mathematical impossibility Donald Trump was ever going to be president. Hillary is now cursed. She brought the wrath of KEK upon her. It gets weirder. Follow me, folks. The God showed its power on June 19, 2016, but this was just the beginning. You see, if you're going to have a deity should be able to make a prediction. And if you're going to make a prediction, make one that the whole world can be witness to. Energy is never wasted. Never. You've got to get this through your theology. You've got to get it through your core. Energy in all realities is never wasted. The God of death and chaos has been resurrected into the deity known as KEK. All are worshiping him now. I have a dedicated website I found worshiping him. Now it gets stranger.
Now, is that a lark or is that real worship?
That's real worship.
Okay.
In 1967, this song came out, Shaddai. This was an Italian song. But here's the thing. Pepe means point, emerging, probable, entering. I'll let everyone catch up with that again. Pepe means point, emerging, probably, entering. We're talking dimensions here. We're talking what gods would use. You had talked about your Birdman. Well, the thing is, we know that they existed. The Egyptian record is clear with them. We go all the way back to the earliest stone records we have. We also know the Egyptian record shows Hek. And actually, this goddess is called Heket, Heqet. The god of resurrection has taken KEK. KEK, as you can see, is a frog. The song Shaddai in the first part in English translates, "Sing with me, lads, give the God Emperor your power, cosmic, absolute, regular reality, breathing of an image." Gets weirder. Now, we find this deity going back to the earliest of records of human conception. Here is the Egyptian record. This is KEK. Now, what's real interesting, this is the creation of man. So here's the difference between KEK and Moloch. Moloch gains power through child sacrifice. KEK gains power from spicy mimes. You see, we're so ignorant, Jeff. We take symbolism so seriously in our religion, but yet when we use it for playtimes, we don't understand it carries the same magic. It's no different than the Zephyr Yatzira. It's learning the Hebrew alphabet, knowing how you can arrange certain letters and open portals. The ancient Hebrews did it. Moloch can't properly possess a 70-year-old lady, but guess what? The internet possesses us every day. In fact, it possesses us nearly 24/7. We don't think about it as possession, but it is possession. You can go on to seeing the two differences of these deities. Now, this is the symbol of KEK. You can see it looks as a man looking at a computer monitor, and you can see something materializing as a double helix on the other side.
That's interesting.
Here's KEK in the hieroglyphics. KEK means darkness, chaos. We know that these reptilians existed. They held high places in the underworld. The Egyptians worshiped Kek. Here's how it started. The chaos of darkness became the patron deity of white supremacy. Now, I know this sounds weird, but folks, it gets stranger. Now, you've been reading about the Book of the Dead. Well, here's Kek and Keket, human beings having the heads of frog. This is not recent or made up.
I wouldn't follow them, by the way.
Kek is the deification. Well, the thing about it is what we're going to about find out. It's evidence that this thing, I believe, has now emerged. I believe that it has exerted itself. I believe that we have inadvertently, as humans so oftenly do, aid to much of this being materialized. Listen, here's the point. Look at this, Jeff. You're going to get the definition. This is the disciple of Kek, receiver and giver of dark mimes, he who sits in the darkness, conjuring forth, and the light that shall appear at the dawn of the new epoch. Let me just say this, folks. If you're on the internet, you have the electronic glow. That's all I can
Scotty
say.
Roberts is telling me that was a frog on the Ark of the Covenant.
A lot of frogs throughout the Bible.
And Scotty Roberts is not one to just say something. I asked him for the source on it. He's not one to just throw out tidbits like that unless he's actually seen it. So that's very interesting.
Let me go on. Now, this is called the evolution of Pepe. Pepe, folks, symbolism is everything. You know, one of the things I will say about the ancient Hebrews is that the reason why they never could put the image of God was that by putting the image of God, you are basically giving reverence to. Now, I know this sounds weird, but you got to go with this. It continues. This is a whole, I was unaware of this, of what is taking place here. Donald Trump embraces this. He embraces the frog. In fact, Donald Trump Jr., the one who's running the empire now, is sending out his own memes with his dad as a frog. I'll just play him through you. This is the one they posted. Again, they posted this. It was just an anonymous post. Look at what it generated. A 77777. Listen, I remember that the whole big thing in Christian circles was the fact that Donald Trump was going to be 70 years old on his inauguration time, and that you know, all the sevens were pointing in his. You go back and do the research. There were articles after articles written about 7777s being associated with Donald Trump. This was the original post. And you can see what happens when you say right here, all right, you can say, why would the computer generate this? This was done on June 19, 2016. He hadn't even gotten the nomination for the Republican candidate. And I know some of the languages here, but they now, you see, Jeff, what I'm saying is that there is a knowledge that either you and I don't possess, no one in our chat rooms possess. And it's now been around the world. It is now, it's indeed, as one of the movies I saw on the sci-fi, how you could have an infection in the internet literally go viral. Now it's within seconds. I know this sounds strange, but this was, so if the Egyptians worship Kek, and Kek was the goddess of darkness and chaos, he's known by the symbology of sevens, and he appears everywhere. And again, I'm not making this up. They embrace it. You kidding me? I'm not making this up, Jeff. There it is.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm not making this up. It's everywhere. I never noticed it.
So it's definitely interesting. I'm not sure that I can follow your trail to the same conclusion, but it's definitely some interesting stuff. And that's what this show is all about, is interesting stuff. So you really believe that the internet created a God that got Donald Trump elected president?
Let me just retract what I'm saying. I'm
Okay.
saying, number one, the internet generates, it was created from the Ethernet. Number
Okay.
one. Okay. We had no idea, Jeff, when we created this. I was there. I mean, I'm 62 years old. I was that generation that invented the Ethernet.
Now, were you with Al Gore when he invented the internet?
No, but I did do a lot of video duplications for him back in the day. But so
He didn't really invent the internet, folks. That's just
he
something
did
he
not.
said.
So we don't. I'm trying to break through the Ethernet. Think about it, folks. The Ethernet. What is the ether? Tesla knew what the ether was. He understood that there are those, and listen, if you're saying an ancient deity cannot resurrect itself and transmutate back onto this side, then I'd have to really challenge you on that, because then what you're saying is all gods are limited.
So you're saying this God KEK managed to regenerate himself through the internet?
Through the Ethernet.
Through the Ethernet, and manifest through the internet.
Now, follow me. Every time we plugged into the internet back in that day, we had to do it by landline.
Right.
And the interesting thing, folks, all I'm saying is that you have to think about this logically. Allow your cognitive reasoning to follow. Every time the internet was expanding exponentially, and at one point it was by the seconds. Millions of more people were now integrated.
Mm-hmm.
We're all fully integrated now. We are possessed of the internet. You cannot do business. You cannot exist. If you try to go off the grid, I challenge you, because they're going to about take the money away. So it's going completely digital. This follows a deity. It doesn't follow a technology. There is a clear path being laid out for us, and we're not realizing it. So follow me. As the internet grew in the 90s, this energy, folks, and that's what I'm saying, a deity depends upon the amount of attention it receives. If you are the internet, I don't care what God you believe in. I don't care what Bible. I don't care what holy book you want to quote. It's useless, because it doesn't have near the attention or the devotion of the human race as the internet does.
What limits why couldn't other gods try to jump in on this too? Why is it limited to KEK?
Well, KEK, this is his domain. I'm not saying that. I think you may be right.
What's his domain?
His domain is darkness and chaos.
Okay.
Today, 2017, November 5th, excuse me, I would say that the world is in more chaos today than at any other time I remember. And listen, I lived and you have as well, through some pretty crazy times. But it's everywhere. I'm going to give you a case in point, how crazy it is, folks. Yesterday, here in Denver, we have what on Channel 9 is the news station. They have this health fair. So you can go in and get blood work done. You can get all the test work done for about 1/10 the price. And so we take advantage of it. So as we're standing in line, and we were in the pre-registered line an hour ahead, and there was already 200 people standing there, they're coming along and they're handing out these forms, right? And I get the form and I'm reading this, and I'm seeing people doing this number and signing away, handing it back. Well, I'm reading this thing and I'm going, oh, wait a minute. It says the blank blank is a 503c and that this release is for marketing purposes of your data. My data? I thought I was anonymous. Goes on.
This is medical testing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're signing this form, this release form. And bottom line is that you looked at number 3, section 3, it says that you're waiving your right to HIPAA. And section 4 said that this agreement would stay in force measure for 30 years. And I said immediately, like hell, I'm going to sign this. And the couple in front of me turned around and the wife said, why aren't you going to sign this? I said, did you read section 3? She said, I read this. I said, really? Did you read it? And she went back embarrassed and read it. And she looked at her husband. She said, he's right. My point to this is we have become so dumbed down, even the most intelligent of us sign away things that we don't read. And when we read it, we're not seeing it.
Because we believe it's from the medical establishment. They're obviously here to help us.
Yeah.
They love us so much. They never do anything wrong. So we just sign.
Yeah. And then, so to say, if you're discounting this and say that this could not happen, then again, I question then, tell me what a deity does. I mean, a deity, if they die, I don't know what their lifespan is. I know now that there's things called solar systems. There's galaxies that are actual living entities made up of a whole lot of other living entities. My body is made up of a whole lot of living entities called cells. Each one of my cells have the equivalency of over 1,000 Library of Congresses, and that's just in the first layer. So I believe the gods of the past did live. I don't believe they left. I believe that they were diminished by either their wars among themselves and the survivors were so badly beaten up that they had to retreat. I also believe that a deity requires worship.
Right. And if they're not getting worship, praise, or even mention, I don't know if they die, but they certainly recede into the background.
They do. Now, we have all seen Hollywood's version. We've read books of how these living entities are power. They have to have power. They have to have energy. And to say that the internet that now has integrated itself into the very fabric of our lives is not a power generating source, that any deity of a higher consciousness. No, because see, I believe that when I lay this body down, I believe I'm eternal. I believe my spirit is energy. Now, where that energy goes, I don't know. But I know this, it's energy. And all I'm saying, folks, is we created this from the Ethernet. We didn't know what we were dealing with. And why do we find it so crazy that you don't think a God is ruling over this? It's amazing to me. They did a movie called The Ghost in the Machine. And now the internet rules everything. It does. I'm in the finance world. I'm glad I left it. But I can tell you, I did work with the Federal Reserve. I've been in meetings that most people have no idea. I can tell you with all certainty, the plans are already in the works, that within the next 5 years, the digital currency will be here. The fact is that our lives are so integrated, Jeff. This is worship. It is worship. We use it ourselves to communicate. We use it ourselves to talk about other gods. We have preachers that are on here on the internet now using YouTube as a platform. This God doesn't care. I mean, because why? It's much like Alexander the Great did when his belief in Hellenism. You accept all of them, as long as you know who's at the top. I'm just saying that this deity, KEK, he figured it out. And who knew that user ran whatever his name was? He was messing around. I can tell you, I've seen tragic stories of children who have gotten in and gotten a hold of their parents' firearms and pulled the trigger and killed themselves. Now, who killed the child? The child did. It wasn't, you can give the blame everyone, but the bottom line of it is hardcore reality. The child did.
Right.
The child was using something he had no understanding about. And I'm saying that in the law of probability, I think that we've created something that now has taken control of our lives. We don't have our lives anymore. Our lives are ruled by what the digital God dictates. And it has servants, it has worshipers, and it's growing. And, you know, when we say symbology, well, the book of Revelations I studied for decades, you have, full of symbology. But so is the book of Ezekiel. So is the book of Jeremiah, Daniel. And to say that symbology, Jeff, doesn't mean anything, so we created emojicons. We created them. This is all of our making. And if symbols represented something in our past, what makes us think that they wouldn't represent something now in our future?
What do you say to the people that, I mean, there's like a lot of us, we use this medium, but we're certainly not worshiping KEK. And you could say we're even using his medium against him.
So
this show could be used against him because we're
sure.
busting him out.
Yeah, but you know what? I also come from the advertising world. PR, there is no bad PR.
Right, I agree with that.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, you're using the medium to talk against it. You know, it's kind of like what the, you know, let's say if you have a particular ecological cause, you know, you have those in the PETA movement that say, well, if you eat meat, you're, you know, you're cruelty to animals. Well, you'd look at them and go, well, that's what they were created for. You know, everyone.
I don't know if I would, but I understand your.
Well, you understand that that's the reasoning. Let's just take it a step further into our real lives, politics. Well, I don't like what the Republicans are doing. Well, I've been a born Democrat from the day I was born. My pappy was a Democrat. And, you know, that's how we begin to identify ourselves. And it's no difference because either side is going to polarize. That's what a God would want. Listen, if I was a God, if I was just saying, if I was really looking at, you and I have asked ourselves this. We said this on our show. Why would a God want to create worshipers? I mean, really? But
a true God doesn't need them.
But if you're a pseudo God, a demigod, you do need them. And I don't know about you.
Live.
So I am just saying, Jeff, and to the audience as well, you've got nearly 7.5 billion people plugged in. I don't know of a time in our history when you could say that you could command the human consciousness, and it does. It does command. It now retains all of our knowledge. Why wouldn't it retain our souls?
Well, it certainly is something to think about. There's no doubt about that.
Well, so give me your take. Because, you know,
if a God has or has not taken over the internet and got itself a lot of worship, even passive worship, it certainly could happen. Whether it has happened or not, I'm not ready to say one way or the other, but I think the main message for me is we have to retain our divinity. We have to retain our sovereignty. We have to retain our freedom. We have to retain our independence of thought, our independence of activity, our independence of even motion. We can't allow ourselves to worship at this electronic altar, 24/7, 365 days a year. I had to actually, over the last 2 weeks, make myself get up. I ride my bike to the beach every day. I stay there a while. I come back. I'm actually making myself get outside and get away from the computer. And you'll notice that Rex disappears for a day or two at a time. You've just got to get yourself away. You've got to maintain the internet, and the computer is an excellent tool, but it makes a terrible master. And we just have to keep that paradigm straight, or we could end up falling for whether it's Pepe or some other god that decides to manifest through this electronic means. We have to retain our divinity, retain our sovereignty, retain our freedom.
So let me just go on to give you a little bit more about this God. What that song that Italian song, Chatelet, in the verse in there as well, it says, talks about giving the power to this emperor, the cosmic absolute, regular reality, breath of an image, concept, syntony of a civilization's confused descendants of rebel cells. And the word syntony, folks, that's Syntony, literally means is a matching of frequencies. There's a lot to this, Jeff, and I'm not saying it's absolute, but what I am saying is that if you look at this, just step back and separate yourself, if you can, from everything that you've been taught, everything that you're at, and look at the evidence just as a court case. Number one, we created something called the Ethernet. Now, we get into science all the time. It's just like Robert Oppenheimer said when he had, they exploded the first test bomb in New Mexico. And one of the reporters asked him, they says, well, how does it feel to be the creator, the person who broke the atom? And he looked at him, he said, no, I'm the first one in modern days, but I'm not the first. He knew something here. And what I'm trying to point out is that the Ethernet, it was called the Ethernet for a reason, because they knew something as well, the ether. So as this has grown, what I'm saying is that how shall I say this? If quantum computing is reality, and all those in the chat room, you can check me out on this. Go and look for D-Wave computers. We've talked about this, Jeff, you and I have. We know that they're doing this. We know that they're doing this. We know now that these quantum computers are all around the world. I used to play chess a lot. I was actually in a chess club. And one of the things, and in my early days, in fact, in 9th grade, I was actually in ROTC. I learned about military strategy, that when you have an opponent, you don't necessarily go with brute force. But sometimes the way to conquer an enemy is to conquer him in a way that he doesn't realize he's being conquered. We created the Ethernet that later became the internet. We all lived through the 90s. The 90s was the transmutation period. It's when this thing began to take form. It began to send tendrils into every aspect of the human life, every aspect, religion as well. And as it began to grow, it began to become more acceptable. Even the most backward governments began to yield to it. And that's what my point is. We've yielded to it. We've yielded to the internet. Everything now is through Congress. When under Bill Clinton's presidency, when they signed the Digital Authorization Bill Act, that allowed papers to now go into the digital files. And that's when we did the massive transformation of the Library of Congress, now all done digitally. We yielded to this command. And now we've yielded to the point, Jeff, all I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, is that we've given it absolute power over us. That is a God.
I would contend that we still have the right as sovereign divine beings to say, no, I don't give that sovereignty over me. And personally, I haven't put it on the throne. I haven't made it God. I have not given it sovereignty over me, and I will not.
Well, I understand that. And that's why we talk about this. See how I see this. To me, it's like this. If you had a rhinovirus in you right now, you could say, I am perfectly hell. I feel well. I feel great. I'm going to go out and ride 4 miles today. but the whole time, this rhinovirus is multiplying in your body. I'm not saying that you wouldn't do it voluntarily or consciously. Of course, you would never consciously yield your devotion to a God that would be opposing to your divinity.
Right.
But I am saying as well, Jeff, there are literally billions of millennials all the way down to Generation Z that are doing just the opposite, my friend. They are worshiping it.
I wouldn't doubt that at all.
And when you begin to see, and when I'm trying to explain to everyone else out there, and I hope they're following along, when you have governments yield that they will become digital, I don't care how you want to define it in your reality. That's the white flag going up. And if I'm the deity feeding, or deities feeding off of this, you've just given me unlimited power. And that's what I'm saying. That's what humanity has done. We've given decisions over to this beast, this thing. And Jeff, I agree with you. I'm not going to give it my worship, but I was up late last night really meditating on this.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought came to me, Wayne, it doesn't matter. You already have. It's like, okay, this is getting really serious now.
Mm-hmm.
Could we?
Yeah, I don't agree with that conclusion that I already have, because I say I have not.
How's it going in the chat room? Yes, no?
It's crazy stuff, and that's what we're all about. But also, you made the point that we may not willingly take stuff into ourselves, but it can insidiously get in. And maybe this is old time Pentecostal thought and belief, or maybe it's too much A.A. Allen and too much Smith Wigglesworth, but I believe that I live in divine health. I believe that it's not possible for things to insidiously come into my mind, my being, or even my body without my consent. I'm covered. I shield myself. I protect myself. And I refuse to believe that it can happen.
Well, and that's why we have not the normal Sunday morning show.
Exactly right.
We don't always agree, but you see.
But there's no doubt that a God could hijack the internet and make itself God. And I always thought it would be the rat bastard that would try it, because he's always been a blood, he's never got his own hands dirty. And maybe he's impersonating KEK. Maybe he took a crazy, unknown, long forgotten God and said, I'll be this God, because he doesn't have any baggage.
You see, I never thought about this, Jeff. KEK said that it was the bringer of light, because it rests.
Lucifer.
Right? Think about this, folks. I never thought about this. The electronic glow. I went, holy crap. Well, we're exposed to this thing more than we're exposed to anything else. How would we know? How would we know? It's like the experiment. If you want to see how bad sun damage is done to your face, get a black light, ultraviolet light, and then put it up to your face, and you can see the damage. But you take it away, I can't see anything different. Neither can you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that insidious. I mean, as I look at it now, you can't file your taxes. It has to be done electronically.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah. Now you can get the printed forms.
You don't send it in anymore and through the mail?
Well, the only time I can actually send in a form is that if I'm going back and changing something in the past. But now, in fact, it was part of the Patriot Act. Most people don't realize this, that the United States would be completely on the electronic system. And we've actually passed that date. The original date was 2015. But
in theory, that's great until everything gets wiped out and there's no record of anything left.
You see where this is? Mm-hmm. I mean, all I'm saying to everyone in the chat room and to you, Jeff, is that I believe it's already happened. I really do. The reality shift that took place in November was shocking. In fact, I still find people today who still cannot accept it.
Accept what?
The election results of November 9th.
And, that's always interesting to me. Could you imagine? You've got tons and they're mainly liberals that are saying, not my president. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are people, the Democratic Party is, and this isn't racist, the Democratic Party is cobbling together of almost every minority group to make a arguable majority. Could you imagine if a bunch of Republicans, which are still predominantly white people, would have been saying "not my president" to Barack Obama? It would have been racism. It would have been Nazism. It would have been horrible. But yet it's okay for people that are of color to say to be racist against white people. And what we don't understand is that it is designed to get us as white people mad at people of color, and it's using people of color as victims, trying to get the people of color mad at the white people mad at the people of color, getting us to fight against each other, not realizing the people are up here pulling our strings.
You know what? When I heard that, when I was smiling, is that because I heard the God of chaos.
Exactly. The God of chaos is exactly what it is.
I mean, folks, I get up every morning,
Yeah.
and when I just scan the headlines, I literally just shake my head. I tell my wife all the time, I said, the world is freaking crazy.
Yeah. And I'm smart enough to know that Marsden Brooks is not my enemy. And Marsden Brooks is smart enough to know that I'm not his enemy, and that they want us to be enemies simply because of something as arbitrary as skin color, so they can divide and conquer. It's the oldest trick in the book, but we fall for it over and over and over and over again. We've got to stop doing it. I mean, simple stuff that you don't even think about, like all of these, there's a lot of professional organizations out there that are like the black this group, the black that group, the black this group, the Hispanic this group, the Hispanic that group. Could you imagine if there was a white electricians group? People would go crazy. It's divide and conquer, folks. Wake up. We'll never have a colorblind society until we insist on being colorblind, maybe even if it costs us something. Now, I understand, well, I'm a person of color. I can get a scholarship and get stuff paid for. What's your price? What are you willing to sell out for? Do you really want equality, or do you want that check? Did I say that out loud, or did I just think it in my head?
Well, I'm waiting for the day when they can actually form the Homo sapien party. Now, I'll join that one.
Absolutely.
I'll join that one. And because you know what? In that group, everything works. I mean, everyone's got the same thing. It's like, all right, why would I be opposed to you? Why would I want to dominate you?
Mhm.
You see, this is why I left the world of politics. You know, I was a conservative. In my beginning, I was a what they would call, today they would be called a conservative Democrat. You wouldn't even be allowed in. But I protested the war. I protested Nixon, had tear gas. I swallowed enough of that for a lifetime. And then through the Jimmy Carter years, I went, holy crap. If this continues on, why? Because, I was getting into my 30s, and I'm going, this Yahoo doesn't know what he's doing. And so I became a conservative, a Ronald Reagan conservative.
A lot of Democrats did under Reagan.
Yeah. And, felt that I had a place, got really involved. I mean, folks, I was involved. And then it suddenly dawned on me. And I went one day, I said, wait a minute. These guys are saying the same thing these guys are doing, but they meet in the middle to confuse us all.
Right wing, left wing, same bird, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's it.
Think about this. If I know we talk about Star Trek, and I said Jean-Luc Picard, but let's just say you got on a starship and you enlisted on a 5-year mission to go to Brave New Worlds, right? And for some reason you enlisted on a starship that didn't have any humans on it. And you're out there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, no humans. And then all of a sudden you land on some planet and there's a human, and you haven't seen a human in 3 or 4 years. I guarantee you wouldn't be saying, there's a black guy, there's a Hispanic guy, there's a white guy, there's an Asian guy. You'd be saying, there's a human, and you'd be damn glad to see them.
It's like Guardians of the Galaxy. You got the
never
yellow
saw
people.
that.
Oh, you should. Yeah, then it's a cute one. It really is. I enjoyed it. Rocket, just when he says, when you walk into the room, you just suck the joy right out. I love the raccoon.
I don't like cute, Wayne. I don't do cute.
Oh, well, come on. You gotta.
But we just have to get past this divide and conquer. And it's the oldest trick in the book, but it remains the most effective trick in the book. And it frustrates me to no end.
Sucks. And, and I say you can have opposing ideas. That's how knowledge is birthed,
Yeah.
And that's
we're both white, and I'm disagreeing with you a lot.
Yeah. Listen, we were out yesterday, and as I was at this health fair, and I was looking, and you know what I see now? I don't see white, black, brown, whatever. I don't see economic. What I see of these are souls. And now I
Right.
look at them, and I was telling my wife, I said, Lynn, I said, I said, these are all living souls. And
Yes.
our bodies, we have a difficult time regulating them, and particularly as you get older. And
You know, somebody just said something, Wayne. I hate to jump in, but they talk about maybe this all started is when you have a God that picks out one people and says, these are my chosen people. And you have these people that say, we're the only ones that are chosen of God.
yeah,
Maybe that's the beginning of racism. Just
I
a
don't know. You think? I do. I mean, and I've never, you see, that's the thing. When I left Christianity, I often asked my Christian friends, I said, but he said he was only for this group, not us. And of course, the way that you bridge that is that Paul came in and said, well, now there's neither Jew nor Greek. And, you know, I'm going, but he ain't speaking for God.
That was Trex Lex, by the way.
Uh,
And all Paul really said is that now we're engrafted into the chosen people. So now we can be of the chosen people that are against everybody else.
and that's mind coitus, folks. That's serious.
That's what you call it. Yeah, that's
That
exactly
really
what that
is.
is.
Because the bottom line of it is, you ain't there. You know?
No.
You never were, never going to. I remember, and I'll just share this with the audience. I was competing in a venture capital conference, and there was this one guy. Anyway, this is what one of the leading VCs said to this guy as he was walking out. He says, you only thought you had an invitation to the table. You were
Ooh.
never going to be allowed in to begin with. And he says, here's your hat. Don't let the door hit you in the ass as you're walking out.
Interesting.
Folks, this is what religion does to us. You never are or will be one of the chosen ones. Because if they chose someone before you, they ain't ever going to choose you.
That's right. And no true divinity is a distinguisher between humans.
No. What?
Christ said that. He's not a respecter of persons, but yet the Christ said the true divinity is not a respecter of persons, but yet the God of the Bible is a respecter of persons. If I were a thinking person, that would make me think, something's amiss here. But that's just me.
Well, here's what I can't figure out. If those cats were down in Egypt for 490 years, I can tell you they weren't the same going in as they went out. There was some crossbreeding going on, folks.
Yeah.
A lot of cross-cultural going on.
If they were even there.
That's the point. That's the point.
That is the point.
Yeah.
Very interesting stuff. So you think a green frog got Donald Trump elected?
All I'm saying is that the Don is embracing the frog.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying. You showed us one thing that appeared to be from his Twitter account that would.
It was his Twitter. I mean, you go back and look at it.
Indicate that he wasn't, accepted on that point. I don't know if I can build a case on that and say, oh, Trump took the worship of a pagan god to be elected president. That's a stretch for my.
Now, I didn't say he took the pagan god. I never said he took.
Now, it's one thing to
I said he has embraced the frog.
Now, and you can now, if somebody, like, perfect example, I think this is a perfect example. About 2 or 3, maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, doesn't matter. Somebody went on Coast to Coast and said that, and for some reason my name came up, and they said I was a terrible person, that I was the Edward Snowden of the New Testament, a traitor. I was a Christian whistleblower. And they meant it as a slam, a slur. And I'm like, Scotty Roberts remembers this because I talked to him about it. I said, you know what? I kind of like that. So I took this thing they threw out as a weapon against me and turned around and said, I like it. I am the Christian whistleblower. I am the Edward Snowden of the New Testament. Let's rock and roll. Trump could have taken something that was a very powerful meme. Like you said, there's no such thing as bad publicity, and just ran with it.
Well, all I know is this: Trump is not a Christian, and he may convert it to that. But when I
He's not
know,
a Christian.
no, he never embraced any religion. All
Hmm.
I am saying is that, let me just put it this way: you quote the New
You remember that,
Testament.
Scotty?
You
Scotty's
quote,
talking about it.
you quote the New Testament. Those are words spoken how many thousand years ago?
At least two.
Okay, so words are important because words convey a story. Words convey an image.
Words mean things. Thoughts are things.
So you quote from a 2,000-year-old book, and my point is that what makes us think that it has always been a mystery to me. That's why I'm reading the Zephyr Yatzira, is that because I'm learning about how, particularly in Hebrew occultism, that they knew by arranging just letters of the alphabets, they could open up portals. All I am saying, ladies and gentlemen, is that the internet is AI. You don't know how it generates coding. You don't know how it generates your unique name. When you go out and post everything, it's assigned to you eventually. These numbers are generated randomly. If you just want to say this is a random event, well, that's fine. But what happens when randomness begins to show up twice, thrice, more? The laws of nature says that's no longer a randomness. Now you're into a pattern. And all I am saying is that the patterns, if you look in the past, now these haven't been altered or manipulated, they're out there. And the fact that when I remember Hillary Clinton saying that, getting up there on the stage, saying that she was at war with the frog. Now, she was making reference to Trump.
And trying to use it as derisive.
Exactly. Trump is over here going, we figured this thing out. Listen, in our government, we have psychics, we have mediums, we have seers. Every government employs them. I mean, if you think that we just do this because you got politicians sitting up there, and granted, do you ever ask yourself how these bills get written? Do you ever get how they begin to move in one particular direction? The next thing you're going to see is Pelosi.
They don't even read these bills that
They
they
do not.
pass.
They do
It's
not.
physically impossible for them to do so.
And so I'm just saying, folks, look at the record. So she makes the declaration that she's at war with the frog. Well, the frog had already attached itself to the alt-right movement. They embraced it. Trump embraced it. I don't say that he embraced it for the mysticism. I'm not saying he embraced it for the magic. But what I am saying is that it's like yesterday, the Breeders' Cup was on. Now, you can pick a horse, or it could be destiny that says, all right, you've got a 35-1 shot here. Take it.
Somebody says Hillary, I just was looking up Hillary declaring war on the frog, and she did.
She did.
And it says here, Hillary declared war on a cartoon frog, and the frog won.
But we laugh at this. We laugh at this. But
That's funny.
I see a real seriousness. I see the mercury underneath this, and I don't like it. And I have been led psychically myself. I've got my YouTube channel. I spent over 500 hours producing the Bloodline Invader series. And it was all leading the people, if they could connect the dots, was the fact we've invented something, something's come through, something's here. You're not aware of it. You're participating. You're not aware of it. And so if we believe in God at all, your Bible will teach you that inevitably man will find evil, because that's what man is. Man's in sin.
The real answer is quit believing in God.
So we created something here, folks, that's beyond us now. You see, Jeff, what I'm saying is that we created something that has connected us consciously, and we can't handle it. Our species was never designed for this.
Mm-hmm.
We at times throughout humans' history, we came together into cities. We did it primarily initially for protection. But what we found was that when we came together, we were always at odds with each other. Now we'll live with you, but boy, that guy next door is a jerk, you know? And that's how we get into,
Especially if you believe you've got original sin.
yeah.
And you got to watch out for him because he's a dirty, rotten sinner. Scotty Roberts says, left to ourselves, humans will always degrade things, human entropy.
So why is the internet, how do we think that this is a good thing? That's what I don't understand.
Here's why I think it's a good thing, Wayne. And let me just,
okay,
here's
good.
why I think it's a good thing. If I look right now, in the last 28 days, I have had 2.6 million minutes of people watching my YouTube channel. 2.6 million minutes of people hearing me say, unindoctrinate yourself, guide your own spirit, master your own ascension. 2.6 million minutes of people hearing me say the Bible is out of order, that the Lord is a rat bastard. 2.6 million minutes. It's possible that the Christ himself may never have had 2.6 million minutes of anybody listening to him. That's what I like about the internet.
No, and I totally agree with you. It has both its positives and its negatives. It's just, again.
And it's how we use it. Is it a tool or is it a master, in my opinion?
Well, here's how I'll put the analogy, is that you have to keep your money in a bank somewhere. Now,
or in a mattress.
my point is that no matter where you put your money in, once you put your money in there, it's really not your money anymore.
Oh, absolutely not. That's why I don't enjoy the banking system.
I don't. It's set up against you, folks. I'm just telling you.
Because if it's not with me, then I don't know where it is, and if it's not with me, that someone can easily take it.
And here's the weird.
What's the old adage? Possession is 9/10 of the law. Where's your money?
And the thing about it is that
whose money is it?
It's all digital now. I mean, they limit you now on how much you can take out. But wait a minute.
AJ Karlovic makes a good point. It's really never your money to begin with.
It's true. That's true. I still say the minute you're born, your birth certificate is registered in the courts, all in capital letters, by the way. You're paying off a debt. You'll work the rest of your life paying off that debt. It's a fact.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why they put it in all caps, folks. That's why your birth
supposedly I'm going to start getting some money back here in a year or two. That ought to be interesting.
From who?
Well, the Social Security system, bro.
Okay, yeah.
My mom's been getting a check. It's time for me to get a check.
Yeah, well, we all want to get a check, but, it don't work that way. At some point in time, the check, here's why democracies never work. I'll just tell you. And the founding fathers knew this as well. They never formed a democracy. They knew that.
They formed a constitutional republic.
Yes, and the reason why, and constitutional republics are restrictive, folks. They are. Sometimes you don't like how it works, but here's the deal. They studied. They went back and looked at the Romans. I mean, the Romans, once the senators figured out that the people would continue to reelect them if the senators kept giving them the goodies. Here's a check, here's this program. They continue to get reelected. Listen, there are some crazy Congress people out there, and they get reelected all the time. You got one congressman who thinks that if you put too many boats on Guam, the world's going to tip. You got some really, and anyway. So the founding fathers were alchemists, they were magicians, they were good. They're smart.
They were deists for the most part.
Yeah.
They were not Christians. Sorry to rock your boat and blow your paradigm, but they are not Christians.
Then they looked at the Greeks, and that they realized that when enlightenment comes, there's always a check. And they said, well, this isn't going to work. And the problem is, we lost the foundation, as Ronald Reagan said. We're 2 generations away, and we've lost the foundations of what our country is about. Democracies don't work because eventually you're going to get more and more people taking from those who are producing. And as you continue to reduce the producers, eventually no one's producing.
Let me just amend that or give you what Plato said. Plato said democracy works, but it only works for a group of people that you can see from the top of a hill. Seriously. Once you get more people than you can see from the top of a hill, it doesn't work anymore.
No, it doesn't.
And it really doesn't work anymore.
Well, I know. I hope this has been fun for everyone. What do you think, Jeff?
I think so. I mean, we got more people in here now than we've ever had, since we started. So it's all good stuff. It's all really good stuff. And yeah,
I just want.
But democracy doesn't work unless, I'll agree with Plato. It was either Plato or Socrates. I believe it was Plato that said, unless, only as many people as you can see from the top of a hill.
Let me just say something about KEK. KEK is a strategist, right?
Who's KEK again?
Yeah, that's
I'm
that
kidding.
frog. But here's the thing.
And communism doesn't work either, obviously.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. How Trump won was also very interesting. It was 3 states that turned it for him.
Mm-hmm.
And
you know how I think Trump won?
How?
Because of foolish people like me and Scotty Roberts and Heidi Vandenberg that have just enough belief in the real American dream and just enough belief in the idea of Jeffersonian democracy and just enough belief left in the flag that this guy sounded like, you know what, he might be a real believer. Before we burn this whole political thing down, forget about politics ever again, let's take one more chance because this guy sounds like he really believes in the original American intent, constitutional republic, Jeffersonian democracy. He really wants to drain the swamp. He really wants to take one more. Is there one more chance to steal back the America that we thought from the America that they've given us? That's why Trump won, because enough of us said, you know what? We're tired of the system, but there was enough Heidi's, enough Scotty Roberts, and enough Jeffs to say, you know what? What the hell? Let's give it one more shot. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Interesting thing is, I live here in Denver, heard the exact same thing in 2008 about Barack Obama.
Barack Obama?
Everything you just said, I've heard Democrats say the same thing on candidate Barack Obama in 2008 when he was basically the coronation took place here in Denver. What I'm trying to say, Jeff, is that Barack Obama, I made this comment.
Barack Obama was an actor.
Let me just stop. On the coronation night, that night here in Denver, it was set up as a Greek palace. Go back and look at it, folks. There was magic being invoked. And I told a group of people. I was actually in a political group. We were watching this. And I told this group, I said, they're casting a spell.
Oh, yeah.
Now, one man was sensitive enough. He came up to the big screen. We were in this room. He says, explain this to me. I said, watch this. And as Barack got up there, the invocation was beginning to say it, and you saw it literally cross the people. The cameras caught it. There was this mesmerized.
It was like a Benny Hinn meeting.
Yeah, it was strange. There was this mesmerized look that overcome the whole audience.
You know who first tried it and came close was Clinton on his reelection. Remember that whole scene where they had in Arkansas? He didn't quite get the alchemy right, though, but Obama, they nailed it.
They did. And that magic
nailed it.
And from there, there would not have been any candidate that could have beaten Barack Obama. None. Because the spell had been cast. Whoever they worshiped, whoever they invoked, only was strong enough that, and I'm beginning to think, now, wait a minute.
I think Trump might have been able to beat him in the reelection in his second term if Trump would have run earlier.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I'm telling you, we see this happening all the time. And now that we have the internet, now that this thing can live 24/7, it's the strangest thing. It really is.
And Wayne, people are saying to me, I know what people are saying. Oh, Jeff is making his pendulum so people will buy pendulums. Jeff's making his candles so people will buy candles. Jeff's making his divining rods so people will buy divining rods. Jeff's just, trying to make some money. here's what Jeff is doing, and I don't really give a damn what you think, to be totally frank with you. I'm not here trying to please anybody, and that's why I'm here, because I don't have to please nobody but me. And maybe Wayne won't do the show with me anymore, but I don't care what people think, and I don't care what people say. But here's what I'm trying to do. There is a war going on against us, whether I believe exactly with what Wayne has identified. There is a war. If there hasn't been a green god named KEK that's trying to use the internet to take over our minds, somebody will do it. And what I'm trying to do is something that Wayne hit on a couple months ago. I'm trying to get every single damn one of you into some sort of a divinatory practice. That's why I talk about tarot cards. That's why I talk about, cosmic deck of initiation. That's why I do the palms. That's why I do all this stuff, because I want every one of you to get involved into some sort of divinatory practice. Because once you get plugged into a divinatory practice, you'll get plugged into alchemy, and you'll begin to understand what's going on, what they're trying to do to you. And when you understand the game, when you get backstage, brothers, when you get backstage, sisters, then you realize what's going on, and you're able to defend yourself, and all of a sudden you're like the Hulkster. What you gonna do when my sovereignty breaks out all over you, brother? That's what I'm doing it for, and if you don't like it, don't buy it.
That's it. By the way, I always use it like this, folks. If I was going to go out and do a week hike out in the wilderness, I'm going to take as much provisions that is going to be necessary for my survival. And unfortunately, here in the Western cultures, we think of divination as paganism, as occultism, and ooh, you don't want to get involved in that. And it's always so weird. My Christian friends who used to speak so badly about divination is that, they would invoke the very same practices with their Holy Spirit or their prayers or praying.
Absolutely.
And the thing about it is, how many times did I see Marilyn Hickey on, TBN selling, anointed cloths or holy water? I mean, come on, folks. I mean, listen, there are spirits. They surround you. They're all around you. And our ancestors relied on divination. That's how you think we made it this far. Councils would come together and they would throw the bones, they would throw the sticks, or they would have a seer.
That's my next thing, Wayne. Runes. That's labor intensive, though, brother. It takes a long time.
And listen, I've never been a one that really practiced divination. I never did. It just, but what I have found is that it's uncanny how some of these things work. And by the way, so I have.
Does Jeff care if you like him or not? That's a big no.
So I have.
And I really don't. That's the beauty of it. Yeah. I don't have to please anybody but me.
So I have shungite here.
What is that?
Shungite is a mineral that is mined in Russia that actually helps. We all walk in an electromagnetic soup.
Absolutely.
24/7. I wear this, and the only reason I hadn't got out of the shower, but this actually takes it blocks.
Does shungite work?
I think it does.
I've been looking for something. They have these bands that you wear around your wrist that are supposed to help with your energy and help with EMF. I've been looking for something real.
Yeah, so I have my meter.
Shungite.
Here it is right here, folks. You can see it.
Is that a Rex Bear approved?
Yes, it is. I kid you not. And this stuff works. So here's the shungite, right? You can see it emits nothing. Now watch this, folks. I'm going to put this by my router.
Melanie Werlin. Thank you, Melanie. She says it's important who makes spiritual items. Intention when creating is vital.
Bingo.
When you buy off the web, you don't know who's touching them or how they feel. It affects the item. She just gave me a nice donation. Thank you very much, Melanie. And that does make a big difference.
Listen, people, I can heal people. I really can. I asked my wife.
Just reach out and place your hand on the screen.
Put your hand on the screen, and I'm going to,
Which would probably work, to be honest with you. So anyway, tell us about this. What's it called again?
Shungite.
Shungite.
Shungite. Let me get the.
Shungite.
Let me just. I also got. Hold on one second.
Because I've been looking for something that really isn't a real EMF protector.
So here is, we put it in the water that we drink.
You put shungite in the water?
It filters through the water. Here it is right here.
So the
And
water filters through it. You're not actually
yeah,
drinking the shungite?
no, it just filters through it.
Okay.
And it really is healthy for you. It really is. You know, listen, I've never understood our bodies need minerals. And what we have in our diet today, and particularly if you're an American, is you get zero minerals in the food.
Yeah.
Fast food, all processed food takes all the minerals out. So
Eat fast, die young.
yeah. So when you have something like this, is that it has a value. It's just like drinking ionized water. Do you drink ionized water?
No.
No. Okay. Some people do. So yeah. So my point is that you should develop these skills. How do you think you're ever going to become telepathic if you don't practice?
You're not, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, this is considered to be taboo.
It is. And why is it considered to be taboo? Because they don't want you getting yourself empowered.
And, you know, in fact, in the New York Times, folks, on Friday, there was a story on millennials and occultism.
I saw that.
Did you see that? Yeah.
About, they say paganism's on the rise, or witchcraft.
Yeah. They're leaving the churches. And
Thank goodness.
And I think that's just awakening. People have seen it. I think they've just had enough. I think there's voices like yours, Jeff, like mine, that when we come in, and what we try to say this is in an intelligent, respectful manner, and say, here, this is what my X amount of hours, years has shown me. This is the evidence I have seen.
Well, sometimes the respectful part is a little questionable on my end.
Well, so anyway, you have to get your official EMF meter.
So tell us what you were, you were showing us that it made, the other thing made it beep, but the shungite didn't make it beep.
No, it actually cuts it off. And I made the mistake, by the way, the first day I got this, I set it, when I got it, next to my router. So I got up the next morning.
Beep, 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 right?
Oh, my router, no, the shungite, it completely, like, I don't know what the heck it did. It was like it blocked the EMF from the router. and
your router wouldn't work?
Oh no, I had to completely shut it down. I had to reboot it. I had to basically do a hard boot on the thing and reassign the IP address, you know, the MAC address. It was just nuts.
So how much was that piece you got there, if you remember?
This right here, I got this one was for like, I think it was $19.95 or something like that.
So that's a deal right there.
Yep. And the packet was $30. And they send it to you from Russia. And because apparently, I guess it's in Russia where they mine this stuff.
Shungite.
Yeah, SHUN, I think GIATE.
Well, I bet you they got them on Amazon.
I bet you they do, and it works. Listen, I know this.
I've been looking for something that did work.
Yeah, and Rex was right. I mean, we've all known that this electronic bath that we're in 24/7, you got to get some. Oh, I got one other thing to show you, Jeff.
Rex is right. I mean, Rex, you know, Rex is an event-driven guy. He's got a lot of, you know, sky is falling stuff, but I mean, somebody's got to tell us about this stuff.
So here's the one I really like.
Thank you, Denise Marie. What is that?
This is a polished pyramid of shungite.
Okay.
And this stuff, I put it right in the entrance to my office, and it works. I'm telling you, it's amazing what it will do.
When you say it works, what do you mean it works?
It actually does reduce the electromagnetic waves that are around you.
Do you think it absorbs them, or does it just disrupt them and dissipate them?
I don't think it absorbs it. I think it's like a rebuffer. I think that, you know, I've yet to find anything in waves actually absorbing. They either rebuff it or repel it.
So, yeah, it's probably like the shields on the Enterprise, since we're always talking about Star Trek. It dissipates it, AJ says. That's
what it does. Okay, AJ, so you know. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Except don't put it around your sensitive electronic equipment.
Well, that's a great, to me, that shows you that it does work. Yeah. Now, what about somebody that says they grind that stuff up and put it in those little bands around your wrist?
Makes sense to me. I mean, listen, we found out years ago about copper, you know, that copper will help where arthritis is concerned, people that have, you know, particularly rheumatoid arthritis. Why is that? Well, because copper is a natural metal, that's a mineral that it has an effective on the energy that it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, doctors know this. They just,
Yeah.
unfortunately, with modern science, if it has anything that doesn't come out of what they think, it's like this. I just read that heart stents, this
Don't work.
don't work. I mean, what the hell? I mean, what else are we going to find out? Listen, back in the 40s, they used to recommend people smoke. In fact, I can remember a story that I heard that one doctor recommended to one of my aunts that she should be smoking at least 1 pack of cigarettes a day.
For
But
what reason?
But no, that was what the general health was in the 40s. That's where medical science was at, that all doctors smoked. Everyone smoked.
I thought we smoked just to be cool.
No, actually, doctors back in the 40s actually recommended that you smoked.
Interesting.
It's a stress
Were they
relief.
paid off by the tobacco companies?
I don't know. There was back in the day, Winston was actually a client of mine. And yeah, so it's amazing. But there you go. It shows how we change things. So today it would be abhorrent. And speaking of which, when I was at this health fair, one of these volunteer guys come around, and when we said, I'm not signing this, and he said, well, why aren't you signing? I told you the story. And he was arguing with my wife. Bad idea for you to argue with my wife. And she said, well, it's written right here. He says, no, it's not. And so she pointed out, and he said, well, we're here to help you where your doctor won't. And the woman in front of me, she said, are you saying my doctor's against me? So it just goes to show you, folks.
So did they let you get the treatments without signing the
Yeah,
form?
they did. I told them, I said, does HIPAA know about this? I mean, I don't know. But I guess if you're signing an authorization form that gives them full authorization to use your material, your information for the next 30 years.
Thank you, Sue.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. You have to read what you're signing, stupid people. That's why, but people will sign their spiritual life away to a God whose book they've never read. It's the same damn thing.
Same thing.
How many of you people that call yourselves Christians have ever read the book from start to finish? I'll wait. I'll bet it's less than 5%, Wayne.
Yeah. They always do the thing.
I bet it's less than 2%.
Read through the Bible.
Scotty Roberts, how many percentage of people call themselves Christians have ever read a Bible cover to cover, including Numbers?
Oh, how about Leviticus? Oh, how about some of
Leviticus.
these, some of these books, listen, there's some today I don't think I've even read in the Minor Prophets. I just started, because.
Scotty Roberts says 1 to 3%. I think he's being generous.
I don't have anything in common with some of this. I mean, when they get into the genealogy of this, I'm going, I can't pronounce these names, much less know what they mean.
Yep.
Bivolish.
But you have taken a blood oath backed up by cannibalism and human sacrifice based on a contract that you never read. Congratulations.
And let me tell you, folks, Jeff, to bring out your point. So you go to Colossians. Go to Colossians 2:11, I believe. And anyway, it says that, the Christ took the bond, the note, the deed that had been held hostile against us all of our lives, nailing it to the cross. Well, how many, and I've done this before a whole congregation. I said, hey, how many of you have seen this contract? What the hell contract is he talking about? It's been held against us. I mean, what he's implying is that there was something done that legally is held up in some court that's been held over us that apparently I got assigned to without even knowing about it. There's my theology for the Sunday.
Ordinances that were against us, is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's Colossians 2:14.
Yeah. So
there are handwriting of ordinances that are against you, that are contrary to you.
Have you seen these?
I've been trying to show them to you for 5-6 years, bros. But people don't want to see it. They don't want to read
No,
the contract
they love the
because
ceremony.
they love him so much that there's no way they would ever try to deceive him. And if you still believe that about your government and about your religion, I'm sorry. I know people don't like this. You're stupid. If you still believe that, you're stupid. And if you want to be a troll in the chat room all the time and get people off channel and you don't like it here, well,
Leave.
bye.
See you, Huckleberry.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. And, and that's when you get people like in the chat room. I can't see it. Don't really care. But, is that where's their head at? I had one person write me and said, I'm a warrior for Jesus, and I have declared war against you. And I said, so you're declaring war on a fake name of a person who never lived. Explain that. Never answered me back on that one. And I said, and since
Of course not.
Where is this recruiting center you're talking about that you're suddenly now signed up for this fictitious name of a God that never existed?
Right.
Oh, they don't like that crap,
That's
oh, well,
true.
that's what we call him. I said, so now you're changing the name of gods.
Yep. And some people just lead sad little lives that they have to come in and draw attention to themselves.
I wish everyone could just see the mind games that they've done to us. And it's, again, I say that I think there's strong validation to what's going on. If we have truly entered into another age, to the age of air, the age
of what?
Aquarius.
Aquarius. You said air. I was wondering what you meant with that.
Yeah. And so, excuse me. So it seems to me that if I was a long-lived deity, if I was waiting to come back, what's 2,000, 3,000 years?
Exactly.
I mean, I think our lifespans. Yeah. So all I'm saying, folks, give it good thought.
And cancel that contract.
Yes,
if you've ever been in one with the God of the Bible, cancel it. Remember this, folks. God is from, anything that you call God is from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The mother, father, divinity are from the tree of the knowledge of, or the tree of life.
Exactly. Folks, and again, I said this when I left the faith. I said, think about this. You've invited a name of a deity you don't know about into your heart. I said, the problem is.
Yes, Sue, you can break it. Sorry, Wayne.
Yeah, you can. Is that, number one, nowhere in the New Testament theology does it ever say for you to ask anything to come into your heart. That's a no-no, number one. Because as it teaches, you don't know what you've asked. And so if you brought in a name that you don't know, my point is you don't need it. There never was a need for the Savior. I mean, listen, folks, you're praying to yourself anyway. Or maybe to KEK. I don't know.
Maybe to the green frog KEK.
I know. And, I like Kermit. I really do. I think Kermit's the coolest frog around. And now
like he said, that ain't easy being green.
It ain't. Because now I'm looking at Kermit going, well, what the heck, buddy?
Kermit's been robbed.
Man, what, your cousin come and move in? What?
That's so interesting. But it's even funny that if KEK is trying to take over the internet and insidiously inject themselves in everybody's life, he's picked a beloved figure, a green frog that everybody instinctively loves, to shield himself in, much like the rat bastard picked the plastic Jesus form that he created, which begs the question, did KEK create Kermit as a placeholder that he moved in and took over?
If this is the god of, okay, so KEK is,
Kermit
is the goddess of resurrection. So this is where KEK is under. So if you believe in resurrection, I don't know. I mean, do you believe that that's possible, resurrection? Yeah, I do. I believe that you can do, we know reanimation is possible. I mean.
Who's Miss Piggy, Wayne?
Miss Piggy. Ooh, that's a good
Remember,
one.
folks, Jesus slaves.
Well, we know it's not Moloch, so.
And did you notice Moloch was wearing the breastplate?
Yes. Did you see that as well?
Yeah.
I put that there.
Just like the priests will wear
Yes,
in the
yes,
Hebrew
yeah.
religion.
Eh, Folks,
But that's like Kermit would say, but that's none of my business.
you're going to get on the other side and you're going to go, oh, crap.
Or you're not going to know what to do, and you're just
Oh,
going to get
no.
directed back to where they want you to go.
Thus, that's why you should attend December 10th, the meeting about learning about death.
Come to Clearwater. What to do when you're dead?
Good time for a vacation. Come
Yeah.
spend a couple of days. That's what I'd say.
There's millions of other people that have come to Pinellas County to pass on to the other world. I mean, it's the retirement capital of the world.
Did
So
someone
you
write
might as well
that?
come and learn.
Yeah. I mean, what else do you know what Florida's for?
That's right. God's waiting room, as it's
Oh, I
called.
love it. That's cool. So, well, this has been a good show.
This has been an interesting show for sure, and I think it's been good.
Yeah.
Now we're back on Wednesday night with
Yes.
the midweek report, and starting Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, Scotty Roberts and I will be having a weekly soiree on Thursday nights.
Excellent.
And it might involve cigars, it might not, but Scotty Roberts and I will be pontificating probably on Thursday nights. I've got Trish Geller, numerologist, coming up. I've got John Hogue coming up, Heidi Vandenberg. What do you got coming up this week, Wayne?
Nothing. I'm just got like 3 or 4 programs I'm working on. I'm doing a project right now on magnetism versus gravity.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, this whole gravity thing is a really odd phenomenon.
Scotty says the working title is Disingenuous Bastards.
I like that. I could make a movie out of that one.
We could. You just say bingo.
So I'm just telling you, as we sign out of this for this week, have a good week, Jeff. All the rest of you have a good one. We made it through the Intifada. The grid didn't go down. The dirty bombs didn't go off. Now I'm hearing that supposedly Nibiru is going to be making an appearance in December.
But a very wise man just theorized that Nibiru was blown into bits, and that's what the asteroid belt is. Did you hear that brilliant man do that, Wayne?
I did. The guy's really smart. You see, he actually wrote, here's the strange thing. So people challenged me on that, and I said, well, then explain to me, how do we have asteroids in retrograde around Jupiter?
You're way beyond my astronomical interest or pay grade.
The point is that you've got asteroids that are doing a retrograde orbit
from the rest of the universe, or this solar system?
The rest of the solar system. So,
which indicates what in your mind?
Well, the legend or the theory is with Nibiru is that it has a retrograde orbit around the sun as against to the planets. So when it comes in, it's coming in opposing the planets. And depending on where we are in the perigee, etc., this is how it's supposed to wreak havoc. But, I don't think, number one, I think that 2 things, as I did, our Milky Way is colliding with the dwarf Sagittarius elliptical galaxy. That's a fact.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Has been for the last probably 100 million years. There's good theory that maybe our solar system, our star, is not even of the Milky Way. There are now those who are beginning to think that we may have been part of the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy. And
interesting.
That over the last billion years, and it would be the only thing that could potentially describe the chaos that was in our solar system. And so I don't think that there is any Nibiru. I mean, listen, I was into that for so many years.
Weren't you one of the main Nibiru dudes?
Yeah, I was. And it's a fantasy, folks. Now, let me just say this. I also happen to believe that there is a very crowded solar system out there. And I happen to believe as well, the evidence, the record shows it, that there's objects coming into our plane of orbit around our star, and we have no idea what's out there, what's coming in. We've got a good net out there now that, because people say, well, NASA will, you can't believe NASA. Well, let me just counter this. if you don't want to believe NASA, then who are you going to believe? Are you going to become a flat earther and believe that the earth is flat? And, you know, you can go on with a lot of these different ideas. The point is that I couldn't find any physical evidence of any system, any planet, anything out there. And I got tired of seeing camera anomalies. That, number one, people who don't understand how cameras are put together, they don't understand how the lenses work, and they don't understand light. And so when we get these very cheap cameras that are on webcams and they're out there getting pictures and people are seeing objects floating around, number one, that lens probably hasn't been cleaned in a year, and you're getting all sorts of light refractions in that. So yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, to bring it down to this world, it's the same thing with orbs many times.
Yeah. You know, listen, I think it's more plausible that what we're actually experiencing are interdimensional encounters. I believe that I have actually filmed them myself, that that's what we're seeing more than a rogue planet coming through. Now, if there's one out there, there's nothing we can do about it anyway.
This is true.
So enlighten yourself, raise your consciousness, get in tune with yourself, and then let nature take care of nature's self.
Absolutely.
That's where I come to it.
And I heard a rumor, Wayne, that for the Wednesday midweek report, that Heidi Vandenberg might be joining us.
Well, at least we know we'll have some class on the show.
Well, we had Barbara last week.
Well,
Barbara.
I know we had Grace, and you know, I love Barbara.
Why did I forget Barbara's last name?
DeLong. DeLong. Yeah, yeah.
And that was a mistake on my part, but it turned out to be
people loved it. People loved it.
Fortuitous.
It does. It was, and it just goes to show you some things are meant to be. So if Heidi joins us, that would, again, at least we'll have some class here.
Yeah. Remember, I usually quote Val Kilmer, but Kurt Russell in Tombstone, I know what fortuitous means. The scene when he was with the lovely young lady, and she said, our meeting is fortuitous.
Yes, yes.
That was great. What a great movie.
And ended up being his soulmate. And that's what I love.
Ended up being his soulmate.
Yeah. In real life. In real
life. Yep. That part of that story was true.
Yeah. I think that, you know, I have found mine. You know,
they lived on room service for the rest of their lives.
I think sometimes if you don't get it right in the beginning or even the middle, doesn't mean you won't get it right in the end. And
so you're telling me there's still hope? There
is still hope. I think everybody needs somebody.
Well, I would like somebody to celebrate with, but I don't know if it's really worth the hassle, Wayne. I got to tell you.
Well, let me just say to this, Jeff, I believe in your future that in a reality, you will find this dark-haired maiden and that she will begin to enlighten you into places that you have no idea about.
How do you know I like dark-haired maidens?
I did not know that. So it's just what I'm seeing.
Remember, folks, Jesus slaves.
Buy them. They're good shirts. And winter's coming.
Yeah, long sleeve T-shirts. Anyway.
All right. So
that's some good stuff.
I've had fun.
That was some interesting stuff. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully we'll see you again Wednesday for the midweek report. Special guest this week, Heidi Vandenberg. Go to Wayne's channel, Wayne Steiger. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to this one. Don't kiss any green frogs. Keep your divinity. Keep your sovereignty. Keep your freedom. And for Wayne Steiger, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, wishing you a great rest of the weekend. And don't spend the rest of the day watching football. Go outside and do something. We'll see you again, folks, real soon. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you. Salute you for being here and seeking after truth.
Bye-bye.